at least 2 days ahead of time, a section of your script. If you do not have a script, no movie. So if you, directors a lot of time complain that the actors don't call them back or they've dropped out. Did you do this? Did you make it look professional? Number one. Number two, the techniques involved in casting, which takes months and months and months for a feature film, is about illuminating whether the actor has the techniques, the years and years of conservatory training to actually execute and sustain a performance. So there are about 35 or 40 different hoops in the casting process, which the actors in August, 4 weeks who are over here, are learning, and which you are learning a little bit tonight. In the one-year program, we have 2 or 3 months of casting, as well, in addition to 2 or 3 months of acting. Obviously, as a director, the way that you finance a film is because of the actors. So the casting is also about the actors auditioning you. See, people usually get it mixed up. You're auditioning them, but the actors are also auditioning you. And coming late is one of the first things that will fuck you up. Because the actors are actually looking at how well this production is run. Do they have a shot list? Is the director prepared with objectives and character biographies, or are you just directing bullshit? Are you just directing and moving people around like pawns? Okay? Acting training is a physiological thing that comes from Stanislavski. The actor doesn't act emotion, and they don't look a certain way. They play actions, objectives, which trigger impulses in the body. It's a very complex process. So you decide you're in the short-term program, so it takes about 10 years to learn how to direct. So you're getting an inkling of it in the short-term program. If you decide to do it, then you better get into an acting class because, of course, nobody's going to expect you to learn everything about acting in one casting class and, one directing actors. But we wanted to, at least for your final film, to give you some idea of how to conduct the casting. So that's the first objective. The second, of course, is for you to meet them afterwards so that you can get their contact information because they'll stay after they come up so that they can meet you so that you can audition them for your films. So those are the 2 objectives. What we are doing today is what's referred to as the initial casting, of which there are many, 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 many that go on for months. In the initial, which is referred to as the blank read, okay, and blank doesn't mean nothing. Blank means what we are testing is the actor's ability to play an objective, their choices. That's the first thing, with no direction. So let me just repeat. This is a section from Up on the Air. This is what's referred to as a side. The actor is going to ask you to email them or give them a hard copy of the side because they have to break it down and prepare. You cannot find out about an actor's true skill by cornering them and saying, oh, can you just be in the film? Or even worse, do you mind auditioning right now? That would be the same as somebody saying, oh, do you mind directing your scene right now, which you haven't even written or designed the shots for? That's exactly the equivalent. So, right off the bat, if you ask an actor to do this, that their respect level for you, well, first of all, the ones that are talented aren't even going to bother. They'll just politely decline. Or it makes you look like you don't know anything about their process. So, you should give them the sides, at least a day before. Okay? On the final film, at least a couple days before. Then they're going to come up and they slate their name and number, because actors that are outside of the business have, agents and managers. So this is a way for you to be able to keep a record of it. Most directors have, from all of their projects, thousands of copies of the digital auditions. So actors that you're not using for this project, probably you'll use them in a year or 2, and you have all that, you have the whole casting file. As part of the casting process is beginning to develop the future collaborations. It's not really about that one movie. Okay? As you notice with most of these main key directors like De Niro and Scorsese, and, early on Al Pacino and Coppola, is they were building relationships. That's really what you're doing in the audition process. So obviously you don't want to alienate or whatever these actors now, because in 2 or 3 years they may be bankrolling a film. And as you know, for those of us who are directors, from reading, you don't bankroll the film unless you're Steven Spielberg or Peter, whatever. There's like 3 or 4 people that can literally get $100 million for a film. It's the actors. Okay? The stars that you get and the non-stars, those are the people that are on the screen. So you must have relationships with actors unless you're using your own money. And even then, you still have to have a good relationship with them because they are working with you and you're eliciting, emotional impulses from them. So that's what we're doing is the blank read. Then once all of the actors have read, we're going to do what's kind of a mock callback. It's referred to as a callback. This normally would be done on the day after or a couple of days later to give the actors time to process the information, but we're going to be doing it right away afterwards because you're not here tomorrow. So in the callback, what we are testing is what? What? Well, not necessarily. You're testing their ability to take direction. There's 2 phases in the initial audition. The blank read. What are they bringing? Their interpretation. Do they have strong physical, vocal, and objectives? Secondly, can they take my direction? Each of you individually. They may be a very good actor, but they don't connect with you. Okay, how do you know this in 5 minutes by cornering them in the hallway? You don't. So there's the directed read, and you see here's the vocabulary for directing actors partially. There are hundreds of thousands of techniques, but the main one is what is your objective, and you speak in action verbs. So some of you, most directors that have been directed are going to have an inkling, or propensity to say, I need you to be angrier here. Or can you be a little bit more emotional? That's embarrassing. People just laugh. An actor doesn't act in emotion. You can't say to an actor, oh, I'd like you to be a little more embarrassed. I mean, no. What? Motivation. What just happened? What is your objective? So you have to think, how do I get this result? Oh, you just, lost your job. It's like, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, and now you have to go to the party for your graduation, and I want you to attack her. You give the circumstances. So, and the objective. So this is what you'll practice when we do a couple of callbacks. Practice giving direction. Again, this is a class, so this takes a lot of practice, 5, 10, 15 films. And of course, most directors, whether you hear about it or not, have been in acting class and continue to be. Okay? There's a reason why Ang Lee and Steven Spielberg and all these people are with actors. It's just not well publicized, but they're spending a lot of time in theater, or their partners are actors, or they've been to Milt Casales' acting class, or Judith Weston, which this list is from, probably the most important book on directing, which is Directing Actors. When it comes to the actual creative preparation, Judith Weston, of course, runs those acting classes for directors in LA, out of USC. So, whatever it is, you just have to get that information and also practice the vocabulary. It's trial and error. So that's what we're doing tonight. Blank read, and then after all of the actors have gone and you've seen them, then we will do a couple of practice callbacks where you'll raise your hand, so you'll have to be taking notes. One of you will bring up somebody to be Alex, one of you will bring up somebody to be Ryan, and you'll each give them direction, and then we'll, do it, and we'll see how they respond to it. Okay? I'll just again warn you, it's not, that should be done actually a day later to give the actors time to process everything. But 90 minutes for the class, so it just gives you an idea of how it would work. And then, of course, for your own movie, you'll give them the script and you'll take them through the direction. All of this, is, of course, is in advance of rehearsal. Okay? All of you should have been rehearsing for at least a day or two after you've auditioned the actor, to give the actor time to process the information and so that you get the best performance. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do, but if you want the actor to come from within and to be organic in their work, they need time, just like you need time to write the shot list. Their basic tool is the action, which is why we do not use dialogue in the first couple of films, the behavior. And your basic tool is the shot and how the shots capture those actions and how those actions tell a story that has emotional value through the behavior and the props and the gestural work of the actor. It's not through dialogue in film. Okay, the dialogue is the text. The truth is the behavior. The cliche, actions speak louder than words. This is why we don't use any initially. So, we do eventually. Now, they're practicing, of course, for television series, sitcoms, everything. So, they have text. So, what we're looking at is, what is their subtext? What are the choices do they make? Do they have a moment before? Did they bring up a personal prop? Right? Not that they just stand here frozen like a door, like a dead roach or whatever. So, what are their choices? And you can't make an actor have a choice, so you're just taking notes. Strong objective, no objective, boring objective. But your job is not there to attack the actor. You're just auditioning people. That's why we audition 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people for a feature. Either they have it or they don't. My job isn't to pass judgment. So that's the other thing. This is all PR. You never insult an actor. There's no reason to be negative. It's very difficult for the actor to be in an audition, just like the director. That's why we have the directors acting. So, you have to be sensitive to that when you're in the room. You do need at least 4 crew members to set up an audition. You have camera. John, who's their instructor, is acting as the reader. Even if it's nonverbal, you have the director. And then you have a greeter or somebody outside the room, because you've set up the auditions in time slots, 5 to 10 minute time slots. So you have to have somebody outside the door to check them in and make sure they have the right size, that they have water, that they have coffee, that they have somewhere to sit, and that there isn't chaos. Needless to say, the 3rd floor is not a good place for casting. This is a disaster of chaos down here. Actors come, they need to sit quietly, they can't do it. That's why you go to Soho. And you book rooms there at night, which is an actual, real acting building, with actual, areas to sit and not drilling going on. Okay, so any questions, directors, about what we're doing? No, are you guys are you A?
Yes, we're
Okay, just let me just reiterate, I don't know if you were filming or where you came from, but you should really be early to a casting, because the actors are auditioning you as much, and also the shoot, of course. I mean, you're the boss, so you can do whatever you want.